It's the final event of the summer in beautiful Muskegeon, Michigan. It's the AVP Tour Championships. And hello, everybody, and welcome for the final time here in 1998. Billy Mack, Bill McDonald, and MD Mike Dodd, and what a week it has been here getting ready for the Tour Championships. Michael has been here just soaking in the atmosphere. A lot going on, some top teams that you'll see in action momentarily. But the big news this weekend took place yesterday off the court in the players' tent. Let me set this up a little bit for you. Kent Steffes and Brian Lewis, they've had some problems with each other over the last couple of years, and it came to a head literally yesterday, MD.
Well, Billy, Kent Steffes and Brian Lewis squared off in the player tent. Most eyewitness reports indicate that it was kind of a cheap shot, a straight right from Kent. Gave Brian Lewis 31 stitches above the eye. And eventually Kent got kicked out of the tournament, and I know Brian Lewis is very upset about the whole situation. Kent better look for a good lawyer, because I think Brian's going to come after him in the court.
Yep, got cold cocked by Steffes. The unfortunate thing, as MD mentioned, Mike Whitmarsh obviously was kicked out of the tournament too, because he was the partner of Kent Steffes. They're out. Karch Kiraya's out. He was playing with Dane Blanton because Adam Johnson was not here with his back injury. So who is here? Well, Hanneman and Russell are here, and that's a bit of a surprise.
That's very surprising, and Hanneman and Russell played very well together last year. They broke up. Henry Russell had a lot of success with Mark Kearns, who's in the final this weekend with Canyon Seaman, but they're a good team. They play well together, and they've got everything it takes to win on this tour.
That, of course, is Nick Hanneman playing along with Henry Russell, and they will be opposing in our semifinals the Brazilians. They're here every single week. They won't go away. Loiola and Emmanuel just rolling along again.
And they squeaked through an unbelievable battle with Louis and Swati the match before this. Brian Lewis, David Swadek were just ripping jumpsters at them. They staved them off. They survived. And they're definitely the team to beat in this match and probably in this tournament, even though they're coming through the losers bracket.
And in our final, we will see Canyon Seaman and Mark Cairns. This is a hotbed of volleyball. They love it here in Western Michigan. And when we come back, right to the action, the AVP Tour Championships. Hotbed for pro beach volleyball. And the tour has come to its end here in 1998 in Muskegeon. Right on the shores of the lake. Serving it up, Nick Hanneman. Jose Loiola. And another side out. They've been machines in that regard. They lead 11-4, and they'll get another chance here.
And Billy, you see some great crowd shots. Scott Vanderwerf, the promoter of this event, has done a wonderful job. Maybe the biggest crowd of the year here for the final tour event.
And the weather has certainly cooperated for us also. First day of the event on Friday, rain quite a bit, extremely windy. Russell over and down.
There you get a nice shot of Manuel. Nice effort on the defense. Henry Russell going over on two. He's one of the best at doing these tricky little knuckle shots. He goes up, takes a little look, goes left-hand knuckler just out of Emmanuel's reach. He's really good in those tricky little plays.
This easily one of the top finishes of the year for Hanneman and Russell. Off the block, Emmanuel.
Henry Russell did win a tournament last year with Mark Kearns, our finalist this weekend with Canyon Seaman. So he does have one open win under his belt, and he's looking to try to get himself back in the finals.
And Henry took a third with both Eric Wirtz and Cairns this year. Two different times. Hanneman. Down it goes. From the great volleyball family, the Hannemans. That is Nick.
This is a tight set from Henry Russell. Nick going up with the nice little knuckle shot out of the block of Emmanuel.
University of Hawaii, Nick Hanneman. South Bay guy now, Hermosa Beach. Out. Can't afford to make mistakes on the good side like that with your serve when you're down big time 11-4. Emmanuel, you can hear the breeze blowing through our headsets up here in our condo. Big hit by Hank Russell. Henry with the pound and a side out. Tough to set sometimes in a breeze like this. You've got to gauge the gusts.
That's a great hit for Henry Russell, well off the net.
And an ace! Right down the gut!
There's Henry trying to get a little support going. And Billy, you mentioned they went over to the good side. They've got some breeze in their favor. If they're going to make a comeback, it's going to be on the good side with a couple of aces, getting himself back in the game.
Just hit the net. Just kissed the tape that time. And the serve will go back to Jose. Good effort, though, by Russell. Can't fault him on that one. Would have been another brilliant serve. Trying for back-to-back aces. 84 degrees down on the sand. Hanneman's turn. Using those paws. Henry Russell with the perfect set. Allowing the big pound by Nicky Hanneman.
Henry Russell with some of the best hands on the beach. This ball comes out perfectly in a perfect position, and Nick Hanneman delivers the word down the line. I tell you, Jose Loiola and Emmanuel are used to seeing some tough serves. They played Lewis and Swadek in the match before this, and Brian Lewis and David Swadek were serving unbelievably. Had the Brazilians in trouble the whole match.
Emmanuel, great cut. Just right around the block and unable for Hanneman to dig it out. So after that, nice shot. Back to serve, Emmanuel.
And Emmanuel, the more he plays on the right, the better he gets. He's hitting the cut shot more and more. He's got the deep shot down the line. And the better he gets on the right side, the worse it is for the rest of the AVP and the rest of the world.
That is our score, 11-5. Trying to move 3 away from a victory. Russell. They seem to have found a bit of a groove now, Andy. After struggling and let 5 or 6 straight points get away, now they're playing their kind of volleyball.
They've got, anytime you're going to make a comeback in beach volleyball, Billy, you've got to start with siding out. Get in the side out groove, start scoring points one by one, work yourself back into it, and try to put the pressure on the other team.
See if Henry can dial up another tough serve. That's 2 service errors in a row, however. Dipped that one well into the net.
Well, Emmanuel and Loiola are such a great side-out team. They're so physically gifted that sometimes it puts pressure on the serving team. They feel like they have to almost serve an ace each time if they're going to score a point.
Tough pass, but a good shot. Fake cut, up and over. Nicely done.
And Henry Russell is one of the best at really looking at the defense before he makes his approach. He's going to take a good long look, go up, and then loop it over the block.
How are Russell and Hanneman in the blocking department? You were talking about when you have such a good side-out team such as Hanneman and Loiola, you go for the aces. Obviously, then that might be a weak point.
Well, they're not the strongest blockers on the beach, and therefore it again puts even more pressure on their serve to try to get teams in trouble.
3 service errors in succession. That one belonging to Nick Hanneman. And he seems a little frustrated, exasperated at himself. Emmanuel trying to get back on the train. They lead 11-5, 4.5 on our Swats clock here in the semis. Cairns and Seaman are waiting. Well, Henry Russell, he's reaching into the bag and showing us every shot that he's got.
He's brought out every trick he has in the book. And Billy, they're siding out better. You're going to see Henry Russell here with a little loopy shot straight into the teeth of the wind over Emmanuel. And they're missing a lot of serves, but when you're siding out well, it doesn't seem to have the same impact as if you're struggling in your side out game.
Let's see if they can get a serve in. Finally, after 3 misses. Emmanuel. Russell was right there. He says, what else? Off the net, though, out. So now they're afforded a chance, and they botch it up. And it remains 11-5. They seem to be scrambling that whole time.
And this is a tough mental part of the game. You have a great point opportunity. You blow it, but you still have to kind of regroup yourself and say, there's 4.5 minutes left. We're down by 6. we're still right in this game. We just got to keep siding out. And that's the mental game right now for Russell and Hanneman.
No touch. Out it goes. So after the missed point opportunity, that ball sailed well out from Henry Russell. So mentally now, that might have been a huge letdown. It's 12-5.
Yeah, well, you see it happen so often. A team has a great point opportunity. They don't convert, and they come right back and hit a ball out of bounds just because they're mentally frustrated and they lose their concentration.
And that's a mistake by Jose. He knew that the other team was on its heels, down a little bit after that point. Had to put that serve in, and he didn't. At that point, you let them make the play. Hanneman. Emmanuel. And it's out. So a point does go up on the board. And once again, Henry Russell says, come on now, Muskegeon.
Western Michigan, give us some love out here. We're playing the #1 team in the world. We need help.
As much as you can give us. Jose dug, rights, again, Hanneman, yes! Here they come.
Here you're just going to see great cross-court defense for Nick Hanneman. Henry Russell with a great bump set on the dive. Hanneman delivering cross-court, jumping into the stand saying, give me more love. We're on a roll.
Sand time out taken.
And a sand timeout is taken, and we will take a break too. 12-7. Manuel and Loiola.
AVP crew to battle each other in the tug of war.
Menges barking out orders. One of the greatest beach volleyball players of all time, and one of the most sensational defensive players you'll ever find, Jimmy Menges.
And more than anything, one of the most intense competitors. And I think it's the intensity factor that he brings to that squad. And it's a long, hard season. We're at the last tournament of the year. We've had fights. We've had everything going on. We've had people losing their concentration, losing their focus. And Menges has that intensity, and he brings it to the Brazilians.
And what he was reminding Jose Loiola, keep your focus after being upset about that last line call that truly went Russell and Hanneman's way after Henry Russell argued and won the point. You don't see that happen often. And Loiola puts it right back at him in a little stare down.
Well, when you talk about the great players of the game, guys like St. John Smith, even Tim Hovland, they would yell, scream, rant, and rave, give the referees you-know-what, but then when it was done, they could refocus. They're right back into the game. They're siding out. They're thinking. They're playing. And sometimes that's what happens to Jose Loiola is he yells and screams, and he doesn't get himself mentally back in the game.
We'll see if he does. This is a big, big side out for Hanneman Russell. Big side out. And they get it again, down by 4 on the bad side. Here's Nick Hanneman. How does his game differ than his other brothers who have played on tour?
Well, I think Nick is just physically a little more gifted than Albert. He's got a little more range, and he's younger. He keeps learning to play. He keeps improving, and he's got a very good future in this game. He's a good, solid pro beach player.
3 Hannemans at one time or another have played on the AVP tour.
Emmanuel, our cross-court shot.
And Emmanuel, the cross-court there to put it down and get a side out. Emmanuel Rego, 12-8, 4-point lead.
And there's Emmanuel, smooth as ever on the right side. And Jose Loiola is setting him a perfect ball right now.
And you talked about the intensity and sometimes the lack of focus that falls upon Loiola. Emmanuel, cool all the time, rarely loses his focus whatsoever, which is what you need. Good defense. See if they can turn it into a point. Yes, they can. Great play by Loiola to stick it right up there for his partner, Emmanuel.
Those are just big-time plays by the Brazilian team. They are so strong physically, but you forget that they're just great volleyball players, too. Here you see Loiola tracking the ball, giving Emmanuel a perfect set over his head, and Emmanuel just beating the ball down the middle.
And now with a 5-point lead and 2 points away from a championship on the good side, things look bleak. And it's going to look even bleaker right here if it goes to 14-8, which it does. Jose Loiola, well, he did refocus that energy And they are 1 point away from meeting Canyon Seaman and Mark Cairns in our final of the Tour Championship.
And Emmanuel, first with a great defensive play, now with a tough jump serve. You're right, Billy. He's the cool cucumber of the team. He can really calm Loiola down, much the way I think when I played with Tim Hovland. Hovland would be on fire, and sometimes I could calm him down and get him refocused. And Emmanuel does that with Loiola. He just brings the calming influence to that team.
You know, it's interesting. You mentioned the other guy, St. John Smith, getting upset. I don't know if Randy was such a calming influence, though.
Randy was usually screaming right there with
Exactly. Set to go now. Emmanuel, first game point to move into our final. Hanneman and Russell have fought mightily. After losing it completely in the middle of this match, they got into a groove. And Henry Russell, with a diversity of shots, kept them in this thing, and now Henry will go back to serve. Down to 8-14. Loiola will have to hustle over. Using the net, Russell getting wet. Nice dive. Emmanuel again. And they were scrambling defensively that time as Nick Hanneman came off the net. Another game point opportunity.
And just calm, steady, great ball control for the Brazilians. To say that Nick Hanneman and Henry Russell's backs are against the wall would be an understatement. But you never know what can happen in this game.
It has happened before. Unlikely, yes. Using the block. And some power by Nick Hanneman that time.
Well, yesterday I was speaking with Canyon Seaman, who's in the final. You're going to see a nice side out for Nick Hanneman. But I was talking with Canyon, and they played Loiola Emmanuel in the quarterfinals. They were down 11-4, and Canyon said, I would have bet my life savings that we would get crushed in that match, and they came back and won. So anything can happen.
That's a great cut, though, by Emmanuel. Smooth. I think you used that term. So smooth. And it just gets scary for everybody as he continues to improve.
Emmanuel and Loiola have won 2 international events, so they're winning on both tours, and that's something that not too many teams are doing right now.
Russell off the block, and they stay alive. So the match continues, keeping Loiola and Emmanuel, if nothing else, out there a little bit longer as Canyon Seaman and Mark Cairns rest in the tent.
Karch and Adam took a second in the Goodwill games. Whitmarsh and Steffes took a second in one of the FIVB events. But outside of those 2 finishes, the AVP teams have not been winning on the FIVB tour.
Chance for a point. Russell's off the net a little bit. Dropped it. Didn't get it over. Afforded another opportunity. And just laying and considering what happened is Henry Russell.
Well, Henry just, instead of using his little shots, tried to tee off on this point opportunity. If body language tells you anything, these guys are frustrated and they're down.
And he was using those shots. Every shot in the bag earlier. Another game point. And that's it. No touch. Out it goes, which means the Brazilians again are into the final. And this great crowd in Western Michigan stands to applaud its approval. Great match. Nick Hanneman, Henry Russell, Emmanuel and Loiola, they are through to the final.